What's going on, people? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another review show where we look back at all the weekend's action. A lot of drama going on this weekend, so a lot to get through. This is, you know how the scoring works by now. If you haven't been with us before, it's 5 points for a correct score and 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. And you get 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And the scores at the moment, 244 to Ben, and I'm on 237. So Ben leads by 7 points going into this weekend. We start off with Friday night football. Leicester against Brentford at the King Power. Finished 4-0 to Brentford. Ben gets a point as he predicted 3-1. I said 2-2. Leicester became the first team in Premier League history to lose 6 home games in a row without scoring.
What a muddy prediction, Sim, that was.
Yeah, it was. I really thought they would turn up. It wasn't great. You predicted them to score, so you get some money as well.
At least I predicted Brentford to win because I knew they were going to. And Brentford just blew them away, didn't they, in the first half? 3-0 by half time. I think 3-0 after half an hour, around about that period. And Leicester just couldn't recover. I thought Leicester was shocking, and Brentford just took advantage.
Yeah, Leicester really getting cut adrift now after that defeat, and obviously Wolves will get into them later, but they're getting a win now. 5 points adrift. I just think it's going to get away from. It's getting away from them very soon, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if we look back in 2 weeks, in the next 2 weeks, that gap is even bigger. And once that gap gets bigger, I think it's all gone for them. So Van Nistelrooy under big pressure. He looks like a man under pressure, looking like he's lost for ideas at the moment with Leicester. So they were just defeated. It was 3-0 by half time, wasn't it? And it was just over very, very quickly. Brentford just exploited them. It was too easy for them. And too easy against this Leicester team who should be fighting for everything right now. But at the moment, they can barely score a goal, let alone get a result. So if it wasn't for that win against Tottenham, they would be even more cut adrift at the moment. They'd be like 9 points away. So Leicester in deep, deep trouble. But 4-0 for Brentford there. Let's go into the early kickoff on Saturday, which was a brilliant game. Everton 2, Man United 2. We both predicted 2-0, which was looking like a really good prediction going into the last 20 minutes. But United seemed to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Bruno's free kick and Ugarte with a volley, looking like it giving United a point. Well, it did in the end, but Everton had a penalty. It was mired in controversy in the 95th minute, which was given on the pitch but overturned by the VAR as they adjudicated that it was a clear and obvious error by the referee, which a lot of people found to be a controversial call. But Man United, as much as they battled back for a point, are they convincing anyone with that?
No chance. Everton deserved the 3 points. Beto, unbelievable form. Where has this form from Beto come from?
Incredible.
Seriously, Moyes has just completely reinvigorated. I say reinvigorated this guy, but probably just invigorated because he was never invigorated to begin with. But unbelievable from Beto. But this is just another case of Manchester United getting out of jail once again. I don't know how they keep doing this and how they keep picking up points, because in probably 80% of the points that they've picked up under Amorim, I think they've been shocking.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I thought they were deservedly 2-0 down. The 2 goals as well they conceded early on, so poor, so sloppy, lack of concentration in defence, just weak as well. The way Onana for that second goal palms it up in the air and no one challenging Decore, who just simply heads it home on the rebound. It was absolutely shocking. And Everton looked like they were going to continue that unbelievable form in Goodison Park under Moyes. But they did get battled back. And I guess a bit of credit, I think definitely Bruno stepped up in those last 20 minutes and he was pretty good. I would say I think Pickford would be disappointed with that free kick going in because it was on his side. But what did you think of the penalty? Did you think it was right for VAR to step in and rule and overturn it?
I mean, it was harsh. If it was given, I think it was harsh. But I think that, I mean, we had a long conversation about it, but I think I agree. Like, you can't go back to VAR and overturn that. If it's given, you got to leave it given. But on the flip side, if they didn't give it on the pitch, I don't think they should go back to VAR and give it.
I agree with that. I think there's enough in there in terms of there were 2 shirt pulls on Young, and I think he could have got to the ball potentially if his shirt wasn't pulled. And so on that basis, I think there was not a clear and obvious error from the ref, and I think VAR shouldn't have got involved. I think that was a case of VAR putting their nose in where it doesn't belong. But on the flip side, Young did definitely make a meal of it, and for sure, like he made it known that he was touched, kind of thing, and he didn't have to go down the way he did. But then again, if he didn't go down, he probably wouldn't have got the penalty in the first place. So I can understand why he did, but I think Everton probably will feel hard done by. It got overturned because I thought that was wrong for VAR to get involved. But Man United got away with it and they got the point. We'll move on to the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Arsenal at the Emirates here, one of the favourite games to review. They lost 1-0 at home to West Ham in what was actually a massive game when you think about it. With Liverpool, I know we'll get into it later, but it was a chance for Arsenal to close the gap on Liverpool after they dropped points in midweek against Villa. At home to West Ham, even though they've got injuries, you're thinking surely they win this game and put a bit of pressure on West Ham, but they absolutely bottled it and they completely failed to step up to the occasion. Not only failing to win, but losing 1-0. Jarrod Bowen goal in the first half, and obviously Arsenal going down to 10 men in that second half with Lewis Skelly. His second red card, I think, in 3 games or 4 games for Lewis Skelly, albeit the other one did get overturned on appeal. But what do you make of Arsenal bottling? Is the title gone now with this defeat for you?
Done and dusted. Like, massive credit to West Ham, back-to-back wins at the Emirates, 2 seasons in a row. Can't quite believe it with the kind of how Arsenal have been and the narrative surrounding them. But I think Arsenal's first home loss of the season this year.
Yeah.
And
in the league anyway.
Yeah. And they were as toothless in this game as they were in the last game against Leicester. I think they just got lucky at the end of the Leicester game and just found something. This game, they were just toothless, couldn't find anything. They couldn't break down this West Ham team pretty much. West Ham just played very uncharacteristic, like Graham Potter usually does. They're usually on the front foot, but this time they kind of sat kind of deep in a kind of mid block and just sprung on Arsenal every opportunity they could with Bowen and Kudus up front. And the defending for the goal from Arsenal was nothing short of shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, and which is surprising considering what Saliba, Gabriel had such a strong partnership and you don't expect them to be defending like that. But how Bowen, who's not even a tall guy, is completely free in the box, and he's the only person in the box from West Ham. It's not like they had anyone to mark, and he just finds himself in between Gabriel and Saliba, heads it home. I didn't even look. I was only watching. I was watching obviously while we were watching Tottenham, and I was watching bits of it, and obviously I saw the highlights. And West Ham didn't even seem like amazing. They just got that one chance. They had maybe another one on the counter. They were solid. Don't get me wrong. They defended well, but I think there's more to do with how poor Arsenal were.
Yeah,
Arsenal really failed to test their defence at all. They barely created a chance. I don't remember too many saves Areola had to make, like serious saves, to be honest, during the game. They really suffered with a lack of focal point. If they really thought just because Moreno scored those 2 goals against Leicester, he was going to be the answer, I think they were probably deluding themselves, to be honest. It was never going to be a long-term solution. Yes, it worked in that one game, but it was never going to be a case that was going to be he's someone they can rely upon to get them goals. And it clearly shows they're missing Saka and they're missing Havertz. But as well, I think a lot of people are criticising, calling out Martin Odegaard. And I don't know if you've seen a clip going around of his individual highlights, but it was a proper disaster class in this game.
You know what, Martin Odegaard, there was one chance where I think it was Trossard who picks it up on the left-hand side and he's got Odegaard running through the centre. And then Odegaard decides to go on the outside when he's got all that space that he's running into. I mean, that's just a player to me. Yeah, that looks like a player that's hiding to me. And that's supposed to be their captain. And he's been nothing short of shocking this whole season, this entire campaign. This one's just highlighted it. And he had that long injury. He came back, looked good for a couple of games. And ever since then, he's put in stinker after stinker after stinker. When you're going for a title and you've got this many injuries, particularly in the front line, you need your captain, your talisman, your chief creator, your creator-in-chief to step up for you. And he's going hiding. It's embarrassing on Odegaard's part.
And he was having stinkers before that injury as well. I remember a lot of people criticising him earlier in the season for not playing well. He then picked up the injury, looked like he was back, you're right. And then, especially since Saka's gotten injured, he's just been a shadow of himself. And if he's as good as they profess him to be, then he should definitely be doing a lot more in these games since he's been back. And I think, with that defeat, obviously they missed the chance to close the gap on Liverpool. And we know, obviously, later on, Liverpool did win. So I think Arsenal, if it wasn't gone before, I think they'll probably have to kiss it goodbye now, because 11 points in the season as well, where where Man City faltered finally. It looks like Arsenal are doing the same here. So terrible result, and I think that will be a real killer blow to them.
My heart bleeds for them. It really.
Shame about the Arsenal. A good win for West Ham. Fair play to them. Only their second win under Potter, incredibly, but showed a different side to them. So really good win for them. Bournemouth up against Wolves, finished 1-0 to Wolves. A very good day, by the way, for the away sides on Saturday. Yeah. And Wolves following suit here. Matthias Cunha scoring the winner. None of us get a point here because we both predicted Bournemouth wins. Game really changed on a red card of Zabani in the first half. And Wolves really took advantage of that. Did you think it was a red?
I didn't see it, to be honest. Haven't seen anything from this game.
It was very similar. It was quite similar to kind of Curtis Jones' one against Tottenham last season, where kind of he went over the ball, but it was unlucky because he was going for the challenge, and he did catch him high, but it was a bit of an unlucky challenge. But yeah, he gave a red card, which means he's out for the next 3 games.
You think it was a red? Was it a red?
I think it's one of those where if he doesn't give it, actually no, he didn't give it. Actually, it was a VAR red. So I think he's unlucky because it's one of those where...
Oh, wait, I did see this. He didn't make too much contact, did he? Was it that one?
He made contact, but it was... But it's kind of like his foot kind of slid on top of the ball and then hit him rather than like a forceful like contact. So it was a bit unlucky.
I saw in La Liga, actually.
With Anthony.
I think it was that.
So I think he can feel a bit hard done by, but as well... You know, we've seen red cards, those kind of challenges all season. It's not like a surprise. So I don't know how many more complaints he can. Matthias Cunha, another brilliant goal. And I think this win from Wolves is massive for their chance for survival, I think you have to say.
Yeah, I think these 3 points are probably going to be... they're going to need to win 1 or 2 more left of the season. But I can't see Ipswich, Leicester or Southampton picking up too many points from now to the end of the season.
Honestly, I think 5 points might do it for them. That's how bad Ipswich and Leicester have been. I honestly don't even know if Ipswich and Leicester are going to get 10 more points here from down at the end of the season. So I think if they can get to 30, just 8 points, I think that pretty much guarantees it for them. And I think that, look, Wolves, to be fair, in the last few weeks, they've been all right, haven't they? They really unlucky at Anfield. They beat Villa, and now they've gone away to Bournemouth and won. So the new manager really doing well for them, and Matthias Cunha again stepping up.
Yeah, I always thought they'd be a bit too good to go down just because they've got that X-Factor player in Matthias Cunha. We're talking about one of the Premier League's leading players right now, and, you know, he walks into a lot of teams. So I think just him alone, having that X-Factor player to pull you out of the mud sometimes, will see you through. And, you know, on top of that, they got some other really good players there as well. So the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is growing and growing each year. Last year, 3 promoted teams went down. This year, it's going to be the same. And usually you're talking about 40 points to save you. Now you're talking about 30 points, which is mad.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's mad to think about as well. Last season, 3 promoted teams went down for the first time in like 10 years or something. Yeah. So it's actually it's a rare thing, but now it's happened 2 years in a row. So clearly there's a pattern emerging. But obviously from a Bournemouth perspective, a bit of a blow for them in terms of their fight for that Champions League spots, but only 1 point behind. So I don't think they'll... I don't think they'll kind of... rue this result too much. Next up, we go to Craven Cottage. Palace went to Craven Cottage and won 2-0. Their 4th 2-0 away win in a row. Unbelievable result again for Palace, and another brilliant win away from home from them. They seem to be consistently winning away from home to really good effect in the last 4 games. Fulham will be a bit annoyed. They haven't been they after beating Forest at home last week, what was a really good victory, and also beating Newcastle just before that. Disappointing to lose that. But Palace, they just can't seem to stop winning away from home at the moment. And Glasner, again, showing what a good manager he is, who's turned their form around. Mateta, what an assist for that second goal. Dancing through that Fulham backline and played an unbelievable ball to Munoz as well. And I think the Eze coming back into the team, I thought he had a brilliant game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that Palace set up and the players that they've got, the personnel that they have in defence, Munoz flying up that wing, and also Mateta and what he can do, and Eze, like you said, coming back. I think it's such a good kind of away team, and they set up perfectly to play as the away team, and I think it's showing over the recent weeks. Nobody can score against them. Fulham could barely create a chance against them, and it was a well-deserved victory for Palace.
And I think, maybe Glasner should be getting more props, because obviously his job was actually under threat, wasn't it, at the beginning of the season with the form they were on. But if you think about, first of all, the form they've been on since he took over last season, the fact he's obviously won a Europa League with Frankfurt, now the form they've been on for the last couple of months, if they can, finish mid-table again and carry on some decent form, do you think some bigger clubs might start come sniffing? Not really sure who he would go to.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I do think he's a very good manager, but when you're looking at the outlook of Crystal Palace's season, they'll be bitterly disappointed of how poorly they started this season. Because if they didn't start so poorly, and everyone thought they were going to kick on because of the way they ended last season.
They did lose Elise.
Yeah, that's also true. So there was an adjustment period. But I mean, it was like a long time, like 10 basically till they played us. Well, they did carry on losing, to be fair, after they played us. But for a big chunk of the first half of the season, they just kept losing and losing and losing and losing. Who knows where they would be if they showed some sort of consistency at that period of the season.
If I'm Glasner, as well, if they lose Eze in the summer as well after losing Elise, I'll be feeling I'm just playing. I'm just managing with hands tied behind my back. Every year I'm losing my best players, so
he knows what club he's walked into. He knows what club he's walked into.
Yeah, I do wonder. Do you think it's just the right fit, Palace and Glasner, in terms of why he's doing so well? Or do you think, could he move higher up the table? Could there be a bigger club looking at him?
I mean, I'm looking at the other clubs. I mean, maybe I can see him like an Aston Villa, but Emre's not anywhere near close to losing his job. Maybe I think that's probably the top team I can see in the Premier League for him.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm thinking, what about if Maresca gets sacked? Would Chelsea look at him?
Glasner at Chelsea?
What do you reckon?
I don't know. Maybe it.
I think we might do well.
I don't think so. I think Chelsea want like a high pressing kind of manager. I know Maresca's not exactly that, but I think they want someone that plays kind of good football, total football.
Maybe Bournemouth Amorim doesn't work out at United.
Yeah, that could actually be an option. That could actually be an option.
All right, let's move on.
He'll be dropping.
Yeah, true, he'll be going down. Yeah, you're right. All right, Portman Road. Spurs beat Ipswich 4-1. We both went for 2-1 to both gain a point here. And it was 2-1 for a long time before Tottenham wrapped up in the last 15 minutes with goals from Spence and Kulusevski right at the end. It was looking scary for Tottenham at points when in the first 5 minutes, I think Ipswich had 6 shots in the first 5 minutes and could have taken the lead. But Tottenham gained control. 2 quick-fire goals from Johnson gave them control. And Ipswich did get a goal back, but Tottenham seemed to see it out fairly comfortably in the end. Tottenham now 3 wins in a row, which is the longest winning streak currently in the Premier League. So
how many times have you repeated that in the last 48 hours?
It's the first time on this channel. So are Tottenham starting to get their players back and starting to get their form back?
Well, they are starting to get their players back, and they clearly are getting their form back because we've won 3 in a row. But bigger tests obviously yet to come over the next 4 games. But in terms of this game in general, it could have been a very different game if it wasn't for Vicario and the brilliant saves he made in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Because if we go 1, potentially 2-0 down, we got a fight back on our hands. But I think once we
we saw what happened in November when we go 2-0 down against them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that once we rode out that initial period, we were the better team from then on, and we deserved the win. I just felt like those 2 goals right at the end probably put a bit of gloss on the performance, and I don't think it was a 4-1 game.
Yeah, it's probably fair, but very important to get that win anyway. From Ipswich point of view, another disappointing defeat after getting a decent draw away at Villa last week. Reacting to that, they looked like at the start they were going to come out flying and really take the game to Tottenham, but I think it was their undoing in the end. And with Wolves winning, again, I think if anyone's going to have a chance of catching Wolves, it will be Ipswich, but I just think it might be beyond them. I just can't see Ipswich. I can't see Wolves not extending that lead. I'm going to find it hard for them to claw it back unless Ipswich can beat Wolves somehow. But Wolves are starting to pick up some results, and Ipswich just keep losing every week, really. And
just look at man for man, both of those teams. Just look at that alone, and that's enough to keep Wolves up.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. So another damaging day for Ipswich. Another game at down the bottom, it was Southampton 0, Brighton 4. Another very bad defeat for Southampton, 4-0 at home. I mean, we've come to expect these kind of results now on a weekly basis for Southampton. It's not a real surprise. Obviously, good win for Brighton. Good for players who's got on the score sheet. Matoma scored a nice goal. Rutter scored a nice goal. It was a simple day for Brighton. Not too much to talk about there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they only got one goal in the first half and they kind of killed it off as the game progressed in the second half. But Mitoma, what form he's on. He's really come to life over the past 3 or 4 weeks. I think he's been brilliant. And yeah, I think it was a performance and probably a result that we all expected. We got the 4 goals right. We just gave Southampton a bit too much respect.
Definitely. Southampton, though, still 2 points away from Derby. We've still got that bet on about lowest points tally. You still
They need one more win.
They need a win or 2 draws or 3 draws.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're getting it at this point. Maybe.
Just need one win. Just one win, Southampton. They got Tottenham coming, so
they're running out of games. 12. Yeah, true. You have Spurs. Oh God, we Dr. Tottenham coming. But yeah, we know that Southampton are going down. That's no surprise. The late game was at Villa Park. Villa beat Chelsea 2-1. We both get 5 points. We both got this absolutely spot on. But Chelsea's run continues. Really poor form. I think it's 2 wins in 10 games, I think, in the Premier League, or 11 games. They're really stuttering at the moment. It looked like maybe their form was turning with the Enzo giving them Chelsea the lead. Actually, I thought in the first half they did all right, Chelsea. Yeah. They played quite well. Villa didn't really come out firing, but as sometimes happens, Emre is such a clever tactician. He changed a few things at half-time, brought on Rashford, Asensio coming into it as well, and they ended up turning it around. But what an absolute howler by Jorgensen right in the 90th minute to give Villa the victory. We thought Sanchez was bad, but this guy looks like he's even worse.
I know. The Chelsea fans have been criticised. Well, the whole Premier League have been criticising Sanchez week in, week out, for putting in stinkers week in, week out. And Jorgensen comes in, and I don't know what that was. That was a terrible bit of goalkeeping from him. But yeah, you're right in saying the game completely switched when Rashford came on the pitch. I thought he was really good. Put Chelsea under immense pressure. And this is what happens when you have a good January transfer window. Good things can happen, 2 assists from Rashford and 2 goals from Marco Asensio. So big credit to the business that Villa have done, because it's got them this 3 points.
And it's actually literally a juxtaposition in this one game. One team did business in January, got Rashford and Asensio, and they both contributed. And the other team didn't do any business or any good business. In fact, they let players go, and Palmer was stuttering, and he couldn't really reproduce what he's been doing for a lot of the season. They didn't have that backup striker for Jackson, and they ended up taking the defeat. So, yeah, Chelsea now down to 7th and only 2 points away from 9th. So could easily find themselves in mid-table. I mean, they are getting towards mid-table very, very quickly. I mean, luckily for them, they do have Leicester and Southampton at home in the next 2 games, so they have to get 6 points there. Good opportunity for them to reclaim their status in the Champions League. But if he doesn't get maximum points, I mean, he's under increasing pressure, isn't he, Maresca?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the start they had to the season, they have to finish in the top 4. People were talking about them in a title race at one point. Yeah. Maresca always played that down. But yeah, they can't finish outside the top 4 or 5 this season, surely. They are only 1 point outside the top 4, so there's still a fair whack to go. And I think these next 2 games, I think you'll probably see them in the top 4 after that.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Sunday was St. James's Park, Newcastle versus Nottingham Forest. What a game this was. It finished 4-3 to Newcastle, but doesn't tell half the story, I think. Forest actually took the lead, I think, inside 4 minutes with a brilliant goal from Hudson-Odoi, and then 4-goal blitz from Newcastle. 4 goals, I think, in 12 minutes, I think it was, giving them a 4-1 lead going into half-time, and Newcastle running rings around Forest. And considering as well, Forest, 4 goals in this game and 5 goals against Bournemouth, really their defence game opened up. And then second half, they staged a bit of a comeback. Milenkovic got a goal. They then brought it back to 4-3. I think it was, who was it, Gibbs White? Or was it Elanga who got the goal to make it a grandstand finish?
It was Yates.
Sorry? Sorry. I didn't, because we were listening on the radio. And it looked like Newcastle were hanging on at the end, but Newcastle were able to take the 3 points. Incredible game. What is going on in Forest's defence, though? That's 9 goals conceded in their last 3 games.
Yeah, I think we all knew that Forest were playing well above kind of what they are for the majority of the season, and maybe it's just a bit catching up with them a little bit. But in this game, like we all thought that by the start of the game that Forest were gonna go on and have another memorable victory, but Newcastle says, nah, we're not having that. We're gonna absolutely blitz you here. 4 goals in the first half, and it was very close actually in the second half, because I don't think Newcastle came out like the game was won. They came out being like, you know what, 4-1 at half time, you ain't getting back in this. And to be fair to them, they didn't, but they were very close to drawing that game.
Yeah, absolutely. So credit to Newcastle for getting the victory. Brilliant to beat Forest. But Forest, I think, got a real fire on their hands because they had a really good advantage, but is now down to 3 points, I think, outside in that top 4. So Newcastle only 3 points behind them now. So they can't allow this form to keep slipping if they want to get inside that top 4.
Yeah, it's true. But as well, like, if you said to Forest fans before the season, you get Conference League next season, like, they would have bit your hand off for it.
Yeah, but I think that's true. But I also think, during the season, your targets adjust, don't they? Especially when they were so clear of top 4th. It'll be a real disappointment to not get Champions League at this point, I think, for them. But, they're still in a good position for that. Still 3rd. So,
look, I think it will be disappointing. Like, the first emotion will be very disappointing not to finish in the top 4. But if they do finish, let's say, in those Conference League or Europa League spots at the end of the season, they'll be very excited to be in European competition, no matter how it is next season.
And you could probably argue that the Champions League football might come a bit too soon for them, because are they ready for it? Definitely. So I think that's a fair point. Last but not least, we'll talk about the game of the weekend. Man City 0, Liverpool 2. We both went for 2-2. What a brilliant win for Liverpool, extending their lead at the top to 11 points, and away from home at the Etihad as well. I think this was a really interesting kind of juxtaposition to Arsenal, where Arsenal maybe last season in a similar position went to the Etihad and just went and just defended, went for a 0-0, had no kind of ambition to attack. Liverpool just went there, did their thing, took the game to them, went there to win, not to draw. And I thought they were superb. I thought City dominated possession but couldn't break down that Liverpool back line. I thought Van Dijk and Kanai were absolutely brilliant. And then going forward, I thought Salah, every time they went forward, he was a menace. But for me, man of the match was Szoboszlai. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. And I think in the last few weeks, he's been good all season, but I think in the last few weeks, he's really coming into his own. And I think he's really stepping up and starting to get regular goal contributions as well. And he was playing in like this false 9 position. And I think with his physical attributes, it kind of suited him, and he scored a brilliant goal. And Liverpool, they're surely champions elect now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mo Salah, the stats that he's on course for the best Premier League campaign ever in terms of goal contributions, which is crazy to think about. Yeah, but Man City, I was really disappointed with Man City in this game. I really thought they were going to make a fist of it. And I thought, more or less, in the second half, more or less all game, but particularly in the second half, when you think Man City are going to come out and have a go, I thought Liverpool were just really comfortable.
Yeah, I think this might be the game for me where I'm like, I think, is De Bruyne finished now? Because he was shocking. He just couldn't seem to live with the physicality of Liverpool and the amount of running they were doing and all these different things. That midfield 3 just ran rings around the City.
Yeah, I don't think any Man City player really turned up. I think Omar Mamouche fairly troubled.
Well, people saying Doku had a good game.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, no one really was able to hurt that Liverpool backline.
Yeah, it was too easy for Liverpool, and brilliant sales. It's maybe also a bit ironic that Liverpool could have ended Arsenal's title challenge with a set piece routine, considering all the set pieces Arsenal have scored this season. Brilliant routine, by the way. The same one that Bournemouth scored against Arsenal not so long ago. They did exactly the same thing. Yeah. Done really well, and obviously they sealed it with the. But 2-0 was a fair result and a brilliant win, and Liverpool. Yeah, this is what we've been saying. Like, even when they've dropped points, they've in certain games they've dropped points where they probably should have won, and they've looked good in those games. They just keep scoring at least 2 goals a game as well, and they've just been by far the best team, I think, to be honest. And Arsenal are going to need them to lose 4 games really from now to the end of the season, and they've lost 1 up until now. So I just think the writing's on the wall at this point. And
I do agree with you. I do think Liverpool are champions elect. But what I was saying in the build up to this game, or the build up to this weekend, Arsenal need to keep the gap at that at what it was before this weekend up until Saka comes back. Because if the gap is that by the time Saka comes back, there's an opportunity there. But Arsenal went and screwed it up this weekend and lost to West Ham, so that's the end of that.
Yeah, it looks like the title race might be over for another year after that result. Brilliant. And look, to be fair, even if you're winning away at the Etihad, like, where is this big drop-off going to come from Liverpool? You know what I mean? I just don't see them losing too many games. So
they got Newcastle next game. They got Newcastle next game, which you never know what could happen. And they got after that they got the Merseyside derby.
And they still got Arsenal to come to Anfield.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think they lose out either of those games. Any of those games, to be honest.
They could draw one of them at least, but yeah.
Maybe lose to Spurs at Anfield. Maybe that's one. But
their next 3 games are at Anfield as well.
No, how mad is it? 8 of their last 12 at Anfield.
Yeah, mad. How did that work out?
I don't, because they've played 2 extra games. The game in hand against Everton and the Villa game. I don't know how it works, but they've got 8 of their last 12 games or something at Anfield. All right, last is Star Men. I went for Minter, who got an assist, so I got 2 points. But Ben went for Mbeumo, who got a goal and an assist away at Leicester. So what's really frustrating is Minter rounded the keeper, just had all the time in the world to score an open goal, and he just took too much time, and by the time he shot, the keeper got back in it when he just should have bloody put it in the empty net. Such an idiot. Anyway, he missed. Ben extends his lead to 12 points from 7, so good week for Ben, but a lot of football to be played. We'll be back for another round of predictions tomorrow, so we'll see you very soon. Like, subscribe and comment, and we'll see you